do you have any news on Bill Gothard? People ask me about him all the time.
That's the leader?
That is the cult leader of the Shiny Happy People cult. He's ancient now.
He just turned 90 in November.
Mommy answer lady.
I don't think I'll ever hear from her again because I think she just knows better. She was harassing some of the people from Shiny Happy People's documentary. She was harassing them like at an obscene level.
Yeah. Welcome to Friends with Davey. Y'all, I am here in Los Angeles, California with a guest that I know you are going to be so excited about. I am back with Lindsey Williams.
Hi.
Lindsey, it's so good to see you. You rushed over here to the studio from a photo shoot?
Yes.
Where you were doing makeup for the last 6 hours?
Hair, yeah. But
Hair?
for the last 6 hours.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
Actually, that's a light shoot.
That's a light?
This is a light, yeah, it's a light day. I mean, usually it's a 10 to 12 hour day. So
I would just absolutely
it was
throw
just
myself
trying to
into
crush
traffic.
this and then Sunset Boulevard and finding parking and like it just kept,
That's right.
That's
We
the
are
way it
here on
goes.
Sunset Boulevard,
Yes.
world famous.
It is.
Right down the street
so
from the
much
Comedy
traffic.
Store, the Laugh Factory. I mean, we are in the mix right now.
You're in it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Also in studio, y'all, please welcome Rebecca Ferrell. You've seen her on a podcast before, and I thought it'd be kind of fun just to have like a third-party perspective. Someone who's never been in a cult before, but also runs her own podcast. Shout out Y'alternative.
Dude, I seriously thought you were going to say she runs her own cult. And I was like, yes.
I would.
She'd honestly be good at it. Not as good as you. We've all said that
know.
Lindsey would be the best cult leader.
Can we start one together? Do you guys say? I'm like,
Let's
is
try
this
this.
the beginning of something?
We're the nail cult.
Yeah,
The
well,
manipulation
listen, I
and
might be missing one.
gaslighting from the two of you
I'll be
together
the vice
would be
president. I'm missing an L,
unprecedented.
so, yeah.
Unbelievable. So what's been going on, Lindsey?
So much. I almost feel like to me when someone asks that, I don't even know where to start anymore.
Yeah.
Because just as a local LA girl now, we've had so much in the first like month of our LA life with the fires and everything. But I've been spending the last 2 weeks on a resource kit rescue for artists that lost their hair and makeup kits during the fire.
Oh, isn't that cool?
And so it's been amazing, but like it's a lot, and now I'm doing the hair portion now. I was helping with the makeup, but now the hair portion is all taking place at my house. So I'm receiving 30 of everything: suitcases, blow dryers, shampoos, conditioners. Like my house it looks like I'm moving out. But it's really exciting at the same time because we're able to really give back to people so that they can get back to work as soon as possible and feel a little bit of normalcy and have their income back.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that, and then work has actually been a little bit slow until you told me you were coming into town.
Yeah.
So I needed
And
to
then all
come
of a
into
sudden,
town more because it's like
a rush of
boom,
activity.
boom, boom. I'm like, I love it when Davey's here, and then I
Right.
can't see you because I'm too busy. That's your fault.
That's my fault.
So yeah, I have a few like upcoming jobs that are really fun. I always feel like I feel weird to talk about the jobs that I have coming up because I feel almost slightly superstitious about it.
Really?
Yeah, that like if I
They're
talk
that
about
big?
it too much, no, it's like if I talk about it too much, then the universe just kind of takes them away.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I'm
it's
the same
kind of
way,
like, I'll talk about it after, or even like what I did today. It's like, I'm not ready to talk about it yet because I need to see it in print. And then I'll be like,
okay.
yay, it happened, because
It's almost
it
like
might
personal
not.
a little, yeah.
Yeah.
And it might not happen. Like something could happen along the way with producers or higher ups, and they're like, that didn't work for us. Let's reshoot it. Or, we don't have the finances to put it out worldwide. It's this. So I feel a little superstitious when it comes to talking about it.
That's totally fine. We don't have to. Yeah, I'd rather talk about cults anyway.
Sure,
honestly, let's
but
talk
February,
about that.
I am going to New York for Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So,
Wow,
yeah,
congratulations.
I'll be there for a show, and then I'll come back, and I'm starting to work in a salon now. So that's my other exciting part of my life.
That's
is
so cool.
I'm now entering the salon
Doing the salon stuff instead of the makeup stuff.
because I'm so bored and have nothing to do.
Right? Yeah, literally.
It's
insane. You're
Why not?
nonstop.
Yeah.
Well, Shalise from Close to Consciousness.
Yeah.
She, I believe, is either in the process of or has already moved to Austin, Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh, you guys are
were out
neighbors
here
now,
in
right?
LA too. Yeah. So maybe
Jealous.
it's time for Lindsey and Bryce to start a new life in Texas.
Do you know how many people have tried to get me to move to Texas in the
I'm
last
sure.
3 years?
Yeah.
Some things have to happen in Texas
But you know
before
what?
I move there.
Think of it this way, Lindsey. You'd be closer to Big Sandy. And so anytime you want to go and protest or picket, potentially even, do some, I don't know, maybe light.
Wait, what is Big Sandy?
Okay.
It's a cult compound of ours.
It's the last remaining compound from the Shiny Happy People cult.
Oh, shit.
And it's right in Texas. I mean, you wouldn't
I never
wanna-
went there though. I've never been on the Big Sandy campus, not once.
there's a first time for everything, Lindsay, you know?
It's true.
Even if it's to go maybe spray paint some stuff, just light vandalism, you know, at the Big Sandy compound.
No.
No?
I don't want it.
Just like TP a tree or something, you know, Starlight. Yeah.
I'll do that here, and I'll just be like, look, it's kind of
We
a
can
tree,
firebomb
but-
the cars later. Let's
yeah,
start.
Yeah. Honestly, we just found out that headquarters in Oak Brook, Illinois was sold off.
Really?
That a part of their property, I think it was like maybe a month ago that it came out that it was being sold, that it has been sold. And again, I feel like, I don't want to be too superstitious about it, but I want to find out who purchased it.
Yeah.
Because I know that those buildings are not going to remain. There's no way. They're so disgusting. And even if they were to gut them and reinvent them, great. But Mama needs a sledgehammer. Or
you want to be part of the demo team?
Give me the detonator push. Like, I will pay coins to be the one that implodes the thing. Like, let me have the red button. Or just give me the sledgehammer and, you know, let's send in the Amazon film crew and just watch me take out
to do that.
my
Just let Lindsay's rage handle it. Yeah.
Oh, she will. I will have it down in a week.
You know what's interesting? There was a comment on one of our episodes on YouTube recently.
Oh, really?
From someone that was not in the cult but knew of the headquarters compound, right? And like that was kind of the talk of the town, is like, yeah, there's a cult here. We don't really know what it is, but you know, that's their compound out there. It's just a cult, and they really never knew the details behind it.
So your podcast is how they found out what it was?
I don't know. That part I'm not 100% on. That seemed to be what the comment was implying. Like, oh my God, we knew about this place in Oak Brook, Illinois. We knew it was cult affiliated. And now we're, you know, finding out what the deep, dark secret was there.
I mean, I'm just telling you, if you ever saw us around lunchtime, you knew it was a cult.
Really?
Because everyone's coming from the main center where we're all working in a little offices doing office things for Jesus. And then we all walk up to this other building that's like an eighth of a mile away, kind of up a nice little incline, beautiful green picturesque kind of pond off to the side. It's really hallmarky. It's very beautiful. But we're all wearing navy suits and navy skirts and white blouses. We look like a Mormon community.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, they
Very
definitely are like,
Might raise an eyebrow.
I mean, if you know, we still see them out in the wild, right? We still see the homeschoolers.
Yes.
And you always know it's the long skirts, typically denim.
Yeah.
The long hair, usually in a half pony or a braid.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. You know, homemade accessories for the most part, right?
Yeah. And very humbled outfits, like Payless shoes that are not shiny,
Right.
like nothing's new.
Always
you
looking
know,
down, never up.
Yeah.
Shoulders sort of hunched usually.
Yeah. Do you know the Daiso?
Okay, that's
what's that?
Daiso. Oh, girl, I have to hook you up with Daiso. You can get like all the most fun little things. It's like a little Asian store, and they have like Q-tips and like little modular containers for organization. And I was in there one day with a friend of mine, and I felt it before I saw it. Like I could hear their voices and the way that they were talking so low and kind of musical,
that sing-songy
and like,
voice.
oh yeah, I'm just here to try to find that one thing. No, but I saved up, you know, a little bit of money so I can finance it. And I'm like, you sound like you're 12.
So there's a cold
you know?
voice?
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's
No
so
way.
many. I mean, and I can't profess to know exactly. I mean, they could have been Mormon or, you know, Church of Christ or something.
It's
but
the humble, demure woman of God voice. That's what it is.
And I
it's-
turned around and they had the braided buns, but like skirts down to the ankles. It was more ATI-esque for me because I
Right.
feel like these days people wear leggings and like the skirt to the knee or like mid shin. And they were like fully down. It was midsummer. It was hot as heck here in LA. And they're wearing like long sleeves. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just wanted to be like, honey, are you okay?
Right.
Here, let me slip you my card. Go watch Shiny Happy People. I can help you.
Right.
But also I'm like, when someone's that entrenched in it and deep in it, that would be so terrifying if a stranger dressed like me now is like, hey, I can
heathen,
help you.
if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm a full on heathen now. But you
really
really,
a shame, Lindsay.
can't. I know it's so mortifying. But here I am, a full-fledged heathen.
Working with the Satanists in Hollywood.
I
you know,
am actually
incredible.
perpetuating all the sins.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think of that, like you see that type of person or you know, that type of family, let's say, just kind of out in the wild, right? And you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. You see a group of dozens
Oh,
of
yeah,
them
they're like,
walking
run.
through the outskirts of Chicago, Illinois, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, why here
the
in this
fuck?
quiet, rich, affluent town too? Like Oak Brook, Illinois is not. It's not just a normal little suburb.
Right.
I mean, it's a very rich, affluent area.
It's a well-to-do little suburb.
Yeah. If you keep driving past the staff center where his offices were, if you keep driving past, there's multi-million-dollar homes. I was told like a few basketball players had their homes back there in the 90s, but like they had their homes back there, 3-car, 4-car garages.
Wow.
You know,
They
you'd
didn't
see like
any of this
security.
going on, or did they do
I mean,
that?
they probably did, but they're like, what are we gonna do?
Right, true.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you you know?
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're paying their taxes, they're doing their things. They could, unless they really started to investigate. But even if you went and met Bill,
Right.
you'd be like, well, he's such a chipper man. Look at the face he puts on. They're doing good for the community.
Yeah, you don't know there's rampant abuse happening
you have
behind
no
the scenes.
idea.
You just think they're weirdos, right? Like
Yeah.
anyone
Well, they
that
love
saw
Jesus.
the ATI people back then, it was just like, they're weird.
Yeah, they always
not
thought we were
knowing,
Mormons.
You know, the
I feel
sinister
like-
shit that's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
How'd you guys meet, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just
Lindsey and
curious,
I?
like, a little bit. I'm sure they already know, but like the backstory, just so I'm aware.
How did we meet, or when were we in the same room together and didn't know it?
Oh God. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there was a chance that she was at Indianapolis while I
Yeah.
was there being locked in solitary confinement.
No way.
But we didn't actually meet while still in the cult. We actually met through the Amazon Prime documentary
Yeah.
that came out.
No way. Oh my
And
gosh.
your
Yeah.
podcast.
And the podcast that I did kind of in conjunction with that. Yeah.
Did I reach out to you? I
Yeah,
think
you
I
did.
think I
And
messaged you.
And I think Bryce,
Yep.
not your Bryce, my Bryce,
yeah.
ended up connecting us.
Yes, because I knew her. I knew her. I knew his podcast.
Well, allegedly, you know.
person, all the things.
But you did know Bryce's sister as well.
Yeah, I
So
roomed
that's a
with her
Yeah.
at one of the other cult compounds.
Yep. Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah.
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 Isn't that crazy?
But I like when the documentary came out, I would just every couple of weeks just Google Shiny Happy People on YouTube just to see who else was talking about it.
Yeah.
And when yours popped up, I started listening. I'm like, wow, this guy knows the shit. Because a lot of times there have been people that have surfaced where they're like, oh, I know this and I was in this. And I'm like, but you were kind of cult light. I mean, no offense to anybody because it's
wrong with that,
all
yeah.
trauma.
Honestly,
right?
I wish I had been cult light. You know?
Me too. But I was like, okay, Davey knows the things, and the fact that you were already with Bryce too, and you guys were talking. I'm like, and then Bryce says something about like, yeah, I knew Lindsey kind of from the documentary. I was like, wait, who is this Bryce guy? And because I was just listening on my computer, and I ran back to the computer, and I looked at him. I'm like, who? What? His name's not. That's not Bryce.
Yeah.
That's somebody else.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, it's Aaron's brother.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it is Bryce. So then I think I messaged you and I was like, this is wild. I don't even think I was like, hey, I want to come on your show. I think I was just like,
not at all.
I love that you're talking about this. We need more male perspective too, because I feel like a lot of the females, again, not negating anyone's trauma, but I feel like a lot of the females, like we went through a lot of the oppressive, abusive trauma to be submissive females. Whereas a lot of the guys, it's like, well, we kind of knew these things were going on, but it didn't affect them as much.
Right.
So then to also have somebody who was a troubled child, like a problem child, to have like, I was actually telling someone earlier today, because I was talking about coming on the podcast, and I was like, if you had any monochrome of having an independent, forthright, clear, they would call it willful or an independent spirit.
Rebellious,
But like,
yeah.
that was rebellious. But I'm like, they should have been so proud of the fact that we were very headstrong individuals.
Yeah.
Because look at where we are now, like despite all this other stuff that we've been through. Like I had a very
Imagine if that
clear
had been
mind.
nurtured.
Could you imagine?
I mean, crazy.
You'd be TED talking your ass off right now.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
It's possible.
You still could.
Let's
just do it together. Let's do a TED Talk together.
I'll let you do the TED Talk.
You can
I'll
sit
write
there
it
and
for
I'll
you.
talk at you.
There we go.
How's that?
It's just a one-on-one
Sit
TED
there,
Talk.
Davey,
I
and I'm
think
going
that's
to
just a
tell you
lecture.
about
I think, do you have any news on Bill Gothard? People ask me about him all the time.
That's the leader.
That is the cult leader
Cult
of the
man.
Shiny Happy People cult. Yeah. He's ancient now. Still writing books,
He's
apparently.
90. He just turned 90 in November.
Oh my God.
90 years old in November.
Yes.
What's the latest and greatest?
From what I understand, it's all speculation. I just
Okay.
think at this point he's a hermit.
Really?
I think he's just living in his house. I like to think of him wearing his navy blue satin Bible print pajamas, and he probably puts his suit on every morning and comes downstairs and sits in his living room and probably prays and reads his Bible. I don't know
Bible
that
print
he had
pajamas.
I just love this idea. I've always had this concept.
Oh, I thought this was
that,
a real thing.
No, I'm saying like I love this idea.
Just a onesie with
I'm
a butt
sorry.
flap.
This is how I make my life feel exciting. I'm just like
that.
Bill Gothard at night. He's like 1950s boy, right?
Yeah,
Like he probably has his little twinsy bed, and he just puts on his little pajamas with his like navy blue background with little Bibles flying all over it, and he gets in his bed and he goes to sleep. Yeah, it's like I'm meditating day and night, and then
I would love that. I would Bill Gothard in a onesie. Hilarious. So
I mean,
funny.
that's even better. With a little
potentially-
nightcap.
Why was I thinking with the little candle even?
Yes. He just
Little
walks around
pom-pom.
with his little candle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like there's been kind of interesting things where like Alfred Cordovan, who we were kind of just like, he's kind of his henchman or whatever.
Right.
We haven't really seen him around anymore. There's no real postings on Bill Gothard's his .com page or the Discovering Grace, because he's making fun of the Recovering Grace page. But there haven't been posts there. It's just, but the man's 90. I mean, I'm not saying it as like a compassionate way, but I'm like, just the facts are the dude's 90.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point, expiration
he should probably
is
be in a care home or assisted living.
Who knows?
facility,
I just hope
something
he's
along
not
those
driving anymore because as of the documentary, he's 88 years old and he was still driving a car.
Yeah. We saw the clip of him.
Pulling up.
I'll play it again just so people remember.
Hello, Mr. Gothard. Sorry to bother you. We're local reporters from patch.com. Lorraine and David.
I'm rejoicing.
Well, I'm rejoicing too.
Rejoicing to see you.
How's it
Where are
going?
you from?
Well, I'm from just, with the patch.com. We're like local reporters. I cover LaGrange, Western Springs, Hinsdale. And I know you got a facility in Hinsdale. And I was just wondering, there's this big documentary. It was on Amazon Prime. Did you have any comment on that?
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it?
Shiny Happy People about the Duggar family?
Documented?
It was a documentary on Amazon about shiny happy people, the Duggar family, and yourself as the head of the institute. And I was just wondering if you saw the documentary or heard about it.
It was kind of harsh on you, and we just want to make sure you're okay. It didn't seem like it was.
Did you get some material?
Well, they just suggested that you left the institute, and they suggested girls spoke about going into the institute, and they said that they were harassed, and I was just wondering if you were worried about that. That girls were harassed under your reign. On that.
You didn't do that, did you? Or
Well, I'd rather not get involved if that's okay.
Okay.
no, we appreciate it, and you look good. Pushing 90, you're still out there kicking.
Yeah.
I'll be lucky if I get to 75.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
driving at 88 years old.
who's taking care of? Who's cooking for him? Who's shopping for him?
If you want to call him up, I hear he answers his phone.
Does he really?
Yeah.
The number on the screen.
Oh my God.
Davey Jackson.
We actually might have
Like
to
YouTube
do
do
that.
your thing. Just kidding.
We may need
I would
to
do that with
do
you.
a little phone
I would
call.
do that with you, Davey.
Just a Zoom call,
A Skype.
I wouldn't know how to Zoom. He would not know how to Zoom at all.
True.
There's no way.
Maybe a FaceTime, a three-way FaceTime.
No, he has
Aim.
a
Just kidding.
phone.
like a rotary phone, just to
Maybe it's rotary, but it's a phone, landline phone.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if computers, here's the thing. I knew him in the 90s, but even then he never touched a computer. Like he always dictated to people. And so I think I'm going to assume he probably carried that old school.
When
way.
people ask me about the cult and ask me about the cult leader, or I tell stories about it or whatever, people are shocked that he's still alive. Like most people just assume like, I don't know. I think that's kind of like just the
he
vibe
wasn't
that they
honestly
get.
he wasn't a death cult.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like live as long and prosper. He probably attributes it all to his whole wheat diet,
assuredly.
But
and his regular fasting, yeah.
I'm not surprised that he's still kicking.
Probably colloidal silver or something.
Well, that was that other lady. I saw that documentary, and girl, when you start turning blue, you gotta call someone.
Speaking of other ladies,
Like, what's going on?
What's-
What is that?
What was that cult called? The Mother of God, I think is what it was called.
probably something.
It's on
There's a
HBO.
documentary about it. Yeah, really
You've got-
messed up.
Yeah, she took colloidal silver, and copious amounts of colloidal silver, and it will literally, it starts to like really destroy your body, and her skin turned blue.
It's supposed to have healing properties. It's
You're like she poisoned herself, basically.
Yeah, I remember the example that people used in the cult, actually talking about like, oh yeah, you know the saying, born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Well, that was actually something that only rich people did because only they could afford the silver spoons, but it was a healing property within the silver of the spoon that this baby was sucking on. And that's why we take colloidal silver. I'm like, so you are referencing medieval. Well, why don't we just try to find ghosts in our blood and shit?
It's giving like Nicolas Cage in National Treasure when he's like making all the crazy connections.
Very
like,
much
in
so.
The Declaration of Independence, it says this, and there's this like shape that means this. Okay.
It's Da Vinci Code type shit.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Beautiful mind.
But that's what I was going to ask you about too. Was Mommy Answer Lady. Have you heard anything else from her? The last that we spoke, we talked to her son.
Yes.
Of course.
Yep.
And that was just a whole adventure.
Yes.
Right. Mommy Answer Lady is a defender of the Shiny Happy People cult and has been quite vicious in her attacks on Lindsey and myself.
What did she say?
Well, that we were not victims. The cult wasn't bad. It was actually a good thing, and we're basically just crying over nothing.
We're disgruntled children, and we're not respecting our parents enough, and we're just, the rebellious ones, basically. But she is someone who is in the Mormon faith, but they also identify as Christian.
Which is why it's so hilarious, because Bill Gothard, the cult leader, would have said that Mormons were false prophets.
Yeah.
And here she is defending Bill Gothard and his cult, all the while advocating, beating your children with windshield wipers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Insane.
She has a website called Answer Mommy Lady, which is, primo awful. Does not roll off the tongue at all. Answer Mommy Lady.
Mommy Answer Lady,
Isn't
right?
Mommy also the lady? Like,
it's some alliteration or something. Like minimum.
Well,
she didn't have ChatGPT.
Actually, Rebecca is of Hispanic origin. Half Latina. Yeah,
sure.
I
am.
Of the originals.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I'm sure if you heard about someone beating their child with a windshield wiper, you'd be like, well, that's pretty creative.
The Russian side too. So like,
that's right. Yeah.
And both sides are like immigrants, like fresh from both places. So yeah, I would get hit with a little chancla, like a sandal.
Sure.
But nothing like, and like I guess a belt or two, but nothing like a windshield wiper.
Extension cord every now and then, perhaps.
Right, a broom.
Like, to be honest, I don't know. Was that my mom? Just kidding. I'm like, Mom's like,
is my mom Mommy Answer Lady?
Like, you're like, hello? No. Making the connections. I'm like, I don't know.
Have you heard anything else from her, Lindsey?
No, personally, no. I don't think I'll ever hear from her again, because I think she just knows better. Because she harassed me for a while and kept trying, like through social media, just trying to get me to talk to her and tell her the truth as if I needed to. Like there are 35 to 40 podcasts I've been on where I have told the truth. I always think it's really interesting,
it's consistent
because
too, by the way. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just telling my story. I'm not going back like trying to make sure I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I'm like, I can tell you the story with my eyes closed, upside down and backwards, because I freaking lived it.
Yeah.
But she loves to come out and say, she did one video on me on YouTube where she talks about how holding hands in prayer isn't actually abuse, but Lindsey's saying that is sexual abuse. And I believe that's what she feels.
I love how she isolated just on that.
But in the documentary, that's all it really talks about. Whereas, but then later she shows a clip where I'm talking about, I can't believe he didn't ever do more. Because I talk about more of like, we had prayer times kneeling on the ground and he's like rubbing his body up against mine, but he's not groping me. But that is sexual abuse. And I have a therapist who literally told me, you have to acknowledge that this is sexual 100%. Abuse. So then I have this woman saying, it's not sexual abuse. And I'm like, well, you didn't live it. But the fact that she shows that clip where I say, I'm not really sure why he never tried more, because I was pliant and available to him. Like, I don't even know what I would have done if he tried more. I want to believe that I would have like kicked him in the nuts and run out the door. But sure. I also went for almost 4 to 5 months, I think it's like 4 or 5 months, but I went through that 3 to 4 times a week with him constantly.
Right.
So who knows what I could have been primed to accept.
Well, that's the whole point of grooming, right?
Exactly. But for her to basically put a clip in where where previous to me saying that, I explained everything he did that the documentary did not show. But instead she's like, holding hands isn't abuse.
Yeah.
And so then she has all these minions that were coming after me saying like, I don't know how you could say this about a godly man because this is an abuse. And if you think holding hands is abuse, you've got problems.
Well, interestingly enough, by their logic, holding hands would actually be a sin.
So inappropriate.
Because men and women are not supposed to hold hands unless they're married.
Yes.
Right? And so the hypocrisy there is just incredible. But at the same time, this is what we've seen her do repeatedly.
Constantly.
Take statements out of context, manipulate them for, whatever narrative she's trying to drive.
As long as it makes her have views of her 500 followers
whatever
on
it is.
YouTube.
Did she ever get her documentary out?
No.
Oh, no. So it was just trailers and clips?
Yeah, so far.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know. But now she's putting other stuff out from other right-wing people. It's very strange. It's like, I think she's just trying to get attention from conservatives and Christian nationalists.
It's just clout chasing.
And so I don't really care anymore. Like, I mean, I didn't care in the first place, but I wanted to pay attention to her.
Right.
Because I feel like people like that who want to diminish other people's abuses really need to be kept in check.
Well, because she was reaching out to other victims.
She was harassing some of the people from Shiny Happy People documentary. She was harassing them like at an obscene level. Yeah. And she is unabashedly unashamed.
And even reaching out to relatives of these victims who she knows are at odds,
right? Interviewing abusers.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, she's a real piece of work.
Enough,
Exactly. And then you have some rando mom in Missouri pulling up with her, minivan of, I'm going to take over and support Bill Gothard. And you're just like, honey,
he wouldn't have supported you.
Have fun. No.
Like that's still is the craziest part about the whole thing. Yeah. Talking to her nephew and then her son, because we had no idea that she was Mormon.
Yes.
We just thought she was another weirdo Christian homeschooler.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being Christian or homeschooled, but there
are
the weird sects of it, right?
And so are we.
She was definitely one. Taking your kids on the news to sing whatever, you're a grand old flag.
Some like patriotic songs. Yeah. The funny thing is, when I watch those videos, I'm like, dude, my mom would have done the same thing. My mom would have lived for that.
Yeah. My mom took us to the nursing home to give piano concerts.
Too. Yes.
Which, realistically though, great thing, good thing to do. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Gave piano concerts at
a nursing home.
Yeah, elderly folks.
Yeah. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it was a little scary actually.
Yeah, it is. When you're a young kid and you're steering your humanity and that it's, there will be an end date. Like it's really heavy because you're just like, you burn in hell or you go to heaven. And I would be so concerned that these people were going to burn.
And I guarantee you.
Like, Cheryl, I need you to bring yourself to Jesus. Because I was like, if you die, I'll never see you again.
I promise.
It's awful.
That that sticks with a kid in that guy. Sure I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm not saying it's abused by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying like maybe that's not the exposure therapy.
Or you just need to have a healthy conversation as a parent to your child. Right. Like, hey, these people, they've lived a long life and some of them are a little more abandoned by their children or they don't have kids. And, we just are going to go and bring them joy and happiness. Like I would have no problem going to a nursing home.
Oh yeah. And my mom was all about that.
But this idea of like, when you're young and you're absorbing Bill Gothard's, crazy teachings of heaven and hell and there's nothing in between and there's no grace, like you better accept it before you croak, like I would be so stressed out. And then when we would come back to the nursing home and Cheryl was gone and I'm like, I never brought Cheryl to Jesus.
Oof.
Cheryl's burning to a crisp in hell.
I was just talking about all these old people.
Oh,
you know what
Cheryl.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I remember her.
Yeah.
What do you think, was the hardest ideal or thing that they taught you to break mentally and kind of get out of your head as a fact?
Davey?
Well,
I need a minute.
For me, it would be,
because you're so impressionable,
like relationships with the opposite sex and how to navigate that. I'm not even talking about from like a sexual perspective, right? I'm just saying what we were taught, where you are the man, you are the dominant individual, you are the controlling, deciding factor for everything, and women are to be meek and submissive and mild and quiet and all of that. And separating myself from that mentality. You know, that was kind of tough for me, quite frankly.
Is it because you felt that you had to be that guy, or you didn't want to be that guy, but you thought that was the expectation and you were obligated to have to be that guy?
It was both, actually. It was both. Like growing up with that mentality and being told this is how it should be, this is God's way, right?
Yeah.
And then being in the real world and realizing, no, there are women in position of authority and power, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, most of my bosses in the professional world have been women, and I preferred it.
Yeah.
So it's like hearing that that's wrong, but not knowing what's right exactly, and figuring that out.
Just navigating relationships with women for me was kind of tough, you know, and not just from, you know, what I had been taught, but also never having been exposed to women outside my family or outside the cult.
Right.
And how do I even interact?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a tough one for me. And then just, you know, dealing with the guilt, you know, for decisions I had made, actions I had done, where it was like, you know, you still, as much as we've recovered from this stuff, right? There's still always that little voice in the back of your brain, like, this is going to send you to hell, dude. You are making God very unhappy. Jesus died for this, and you are just...
Because
you know what I mean?
it's programmed into you at such a young age. Your brain isn't fully developed until you're about 25 years old. So this is just getting shoved into you every single day. And if you're also disciplined upon not behaving a certain way, that's another factor of just driving it home even further on a behavioral level.
Right.
So even, you know, when I got into like the real world experience, I felt like I so desperately craved validation from people. Like, you don't have to like fan my flame, but just be like, hey, you're doing a good job.
Right.
Or no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, put me at ease.
Yeah.
Because I never knew what would create a reaction from my father to then discipline me in horrible ways, or when I was at headquarters and I'm just living my best life and men be tripping left and right.
You were running late to this podcast, or I don't even want to say running late. You were running behind because you had another job, but you had another event you were working, and you kept apologizing. I was like, Lindsey, it's fine.
I know.
Like, it happens.
I think I finally said, I'm going to stop apologizing, because I realized I was getting into my anxiety panic of things I cannot control. Yeah. And then I'm trying to learn, like, just trust people that what they say is what they mean. And if you don't mean what you say, then that's your problem. That's not mine. But I mean, I'm 46 years old. And so it's still like, there are still things that are very frustrating, because I'm just like, dude, seriously, like, you think by now I'd just be able to like cruise through life. Nope. But there's always these little things.
Well, that's exactly,
you know,
I was in a cold, and it's still kind of
it's
hard,
very
you know?
specific trauma. It's very, you know, specific, ingrained reactions and thought patterns and that sort of thing. But everyone deals with it on some level. And that so Rebecca, one of the things that I wanted you to just kind of think about is if you could ask any question to someone who grew up in this extremely conservative, Christian, isolated, restrictive environment, all the women wore pants, or wore dresses, excuse me. Oh my God.
Oh, wish we wore pants.
Yeah, right. Weren't allowed to watch TV, couldn't watch movies, couldn't listen to any kind of music with drums in it, because that could summon demons. You know, if you could ask any question to a person that grew up that way, like, what would it be for you?
The one I just asked was one of them.
Yeah.
I gotta
and
say.
that was a really
What's the
good question. I
easiest way
still
to-
haven't really answered you.
Let me think. Honestly, just women or men as well.
Either way.
Just anyone.
Either way, yeah.
What was like the harshest realization coming out of it from the outside world, you know, that you were like, oh, this is completely different than how we do things?
Even when I was in it and I was getting into my teen years, I was very aware how disadvantaged I was to everything in the outside world. That even though we were a cult in plain sight, like, we went to church, but I went to the grocery store, we did all the things, we just looked odd. I had no pop culture references. I had no movie references. I did not know actors and actresses unless they were in like more Bible-y or conservative movies. I didn't fashion. What was that? Like, fashion was like, wear your tents, you know, and be happy. I had a very like independent attitude about things, but I was terrified of everything.
Were you like bullied at all, either of you? If you're open to talking about it, obviously.
I mean, I was bullied by my father, you know, like, he was literally my first bully. And so to me, people in authority were the bullies. And so like, I feel like when I got into the real world, I think I was just cute and precious. And so like, I don't say that to be cute and precious, but I feel like people didn't really come for me.
Yeah. Like innocent kind of.
Right.
Bit,
But then there were, because I looked so effing young. Like it was ridiculous how little and like, I don't know, looked like a kid. But
Maybe one of the perks of growing up in a cult, honestly.
it could be.
We're not hardened by the
I'm
sins of the world. Yeah.
Don't hurt me. But when I got into working with photo shoots and stuff, I had a lot of photographers that were super toxic and aggressive at me. And I will never forget one of the guys, like, I had just come out of cosmetology school and I was so excited because I could do hair now and I've got like a fan going and I'm like, I'm on the floor with this big fan and I'm just blowing her hair and it's, to me, it's like, it's stunning. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then I was like, oh, or like some hair went like across her face and I was like, it's stuck in her lip gloss. So like, I jump up and I go to move it and he yells in the studio, get back on the floor where you belong. And I just, all the past, I was like, oh my God, I super fucked up. I'm never going to work again. And I like went back to the fan and I was like shaking so bad. But I know now, like he was the problem, not me. But it has taken me decades to get over, like if I hear people with raised voices, even if I'm walking on the street, I get really stressed. Like I need to be aware of where I am and have my keys in my hands. And not that this is a bad thing, but it's for the minimal infractions of people just having their daily lives and maybe yelling at somebody, which is a normal behavior.
Yeah, that's completely understandable though. I mean, PTSD, I'm sure, you know.
Yeah. So I think
you would not have done well at the Jamba Juice robbery earlier today.
there's a Jamba Juice.
We did witness a robbery at Jamba Juice.
Yeah,
Oh, lovely.
watched it happen.
No.
The thief ran right past us.
I get really like I've watched altercations in like the Paris subway, you know, and things like that. And I know that I'm a headstrong person, but it's wild when I'm in those situations. I'm just like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like there's so much unsafe. My body goes into flight mode.
That's what I did earlier. I ran from the Jamba
Yeah,
Juice.
she
I'm like,
literally ran.
He's like, do you want to go in? I'm like,
I was like, no, that's fine. He's already gone.
I think,
I think I have the fight mentality. I think that's the problem with me.
But when it's like when I was living in New York City, I feel like I'm dropping names and I'm not trying to do this on purpose. I'm like Paris and New York.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, you're a celebrated makeup and hair artist now. Yeah.
But when I was in New York City, there were multiple times where I was on the subway with my husband. And when I see women having a man like really pressure them or yell at them, oh, my dander gets up so fast. That's when my fight shows up. And my husband will be like, honey. And I'm like, I'm gonna mess with him.
Not your problem. Yeah.
He's just like, baby.
I don't know if that has to do with my upbringing in particular, but there's two things that I cannot abide. It's any abuse towards women or any abuse towards children. Yeah. Those two things, I will lose it so quickly. Yeah. And maybe it's tied back to the cult upbringing and just
I just think you're just a good person.
Yeah.
I don't think the cult honestly, it should have nothing to do with that because the cult was happy with abuse.
True.
The cult was fine with you spanking your kids until there was no tomorrow. The cult was totally fine with abusing women and shutting them up.
Right.
Like that. And so I think that your response would be more like, because of the cult, I am now this.
I'm just hypersensitive to it.
This.
I feel like
it's just a behavior that should never be tolerated in the first place.
True. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I think you're just a good soul, period.
The jury's still out on that one, I think.
There went the pop.
But here we are.
You're doing fine.
Shut up.
You're doing fine,
well,
kid.
Lindsey, I know, unfortunately, this had to be a relatively quick episode.
God damn it, Davey.
I know.
It's my fault, though.
It's not your fault. It is not your fault.
It's actually my fault, guys. Just kidding. I'll take the blame. It's okay. It's okay.
I love this for you.
Yeah,
Can we just all take a moment and take some blame?
Yeah. There's plenty. I have plenty to pass around.
I deserve so much worse.
No, it's not you guys. It's
it's
okay.
Well, you are losing it now.
But I
True,
did.
exactly.
I did want to thank you for stopping by,
for sure,
hanging out with us, talking a little bit about what's been going on in life and updates on the cult. I know there's so much more that you can't talk about yet.
Yes.
There's some exciting things in the works. Bryce, he's been sending me some updates. He has been he's had the pleasure over the past couple months to clean out his mother's old house.
Yes.
And boy, some of the literature that she had tucked away in storage is just insane. Old wisdom booklets, old, character sketches that the cult would publish, the newsletters. I mean, it's all just been bananas. And so at some point, we're going to have to catch up, you, me, and Bryce, and just kind of talk about some of the emotion that I know brought back for him, but more so for you in particular.
I can only imagine. Every time he sends another photo, I'm like, send to me. Send to me. Send to me. I have project. Send to me. There's a woman here who just moved to LA and through another TikTok influencer reached out to me, and she was also raised in all of this, and she's like, wow. I have so much material. I just want to bring it to you. And I was like, anytime, honey. I need all the resources.
The merrier.
It is.
Lindsey, where can folks find you? Social media?
Well, they can find me on the cult side at The Cult Chronicles on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. And then I'm like, LinkedIn. I said LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Holy crap. No, Linktree.
Oh, Linktree.
Oh my God. Why did I say LinkedIn? I'm in work mode. We're
CEO. Mobile.
Woo. I am on LinkedIn actually. But anywho, so, and then for my makeup and hair craziness, you guys can go to crazypretty.com, and I am on all the socials.
What a great
amazing. Really cool. And Rebecca, where can folks find you?
Instagram, Rebecca.tx, and YouTube, Alternative TV for my podcast, guys.
Love it. Go check it out, y'all. Check them both out. They're both such incredible people. Thank y'all so much. Y'all, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. We love you. Bye.